And forget it. Welcome, everybody. I'm Katie Bell, and I'm on the board of the Northeast Harbor Library. And I just wanted to say a few words about the library, that we are not a public library, but we're open to the public freely. And we, except for the elementary school across the street, which uses us as a library, which is a delight, they give us 15% of what we raise every year. And other than that, it's our community and everybody who appreciates us, and we appreciate any help that anybody would like to help us with. Thank you. And now for the important piece is Paul Weiss, who is, I'm going to read this just because we get nervous, who's my friend and my teacher and a lifetime poet. His poetry always seems to speak exactly to what I need. Sometimes it hits my funny bone. It always hits my heart. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for that very elegant, eloquent, good introduction. Thank you. This is, I feel this is a sweet occasion for me. It feels somehow like a more intimate poetry reading than sometimes, because there is a theme that I know we all share, so it's about us, and I'm sure that's what brought, a large part of what brought many of you here. So I feel like we're already somehow in collusion with this event, this poetry reading. I realize I'm in a fortunate position in terms of looking back over the seasons of a life, because I've been writing poems since I was, even before I was a teenager. And it's such a good record of things. And so it all lives with me very much, and the idea of the seasons of life. And so easy to correlate with the seasons of the year. It's just always present for me. So it's been my idea for a while to put together a reading that focused on the poetry of aging, because I notice more and more of my poems are about that. And I know there's a special population for whom would be really relevant and hopefully supportive and perhaps inspiring. So I've been wanting to do that, and I'll be very fortunate if I have the time to read all the poems that I have planned. May have to pick and choose. I did make up several copies among the books that are out there today. I made up several little chapbooks of all the poems that I'm hoping to read today, plus some more. And I can create more of those. I would like to, so this poem, this reading will focus on, there'll probably be certain chapters that address different aspects of our shared experience. And before I go into all the other poems, which will be about, much more about age, I want to start with a poem that I wrote at the age of 16 and a half, just as a contrast, and back when I was actually a much better poet than I am right now. And this poem was written in the fall of my first year in college. I went to college very young. So this year, it's called 1963, and the poem records that year. That was the year in which I got out of high school, spent the summer working at a hotel, and then went to college in Vermont, a very beautiful place in Vermont. And the poem is called 1963. And as I returned to it, I realized, again, even though it was not my intention at the time, I was simply talking about my year, but I was clear that I was talking about the seasons of a life as well. It just comes out naturally. The kind of the innocence and energy of youth, and then having to kind of really deal with the simple down to business, down to work realities of life, new possibilities, opening up some disappointments, some new possibilities, and then at the very end, that intimation of, oh, something more wintry is coming. Okay. So this is called 1963. In spring, I suckled on the breeze that nature honed to heal her ailing friends and even enemies. No enemy was I. She bought my loyalty with her meadow kiss and sent me bounding across the seasons with a warm slap on my butt. My love, for whom I have since died, was almost real against my side. With summer, I struck up a little deal. I would bind myself in with her brutal wheel, become in essence something of a spoke, and forgive her for her little slips. The promises she broke is when she failed to give me that eclipse and clouded up the sky. I spoke to her of this, and she said, "Why are you complaining, little boy? As spokesman for my wheel, are you not saved from lying underneath its cutting tread? And as for blotting out your joy, your cosmic fun, and sending clouds instead, if you had seen the moon devour the sun, it would have been just one more toy that you'd employ, and one more thing you thought you knew when you know not." So fall reached out its hands with new devices to contort my mind, and newer musts, new lands to be befriended and explored, old crumbs and crusts to be repacked and stored, and sympathetic landscapes, new desires and designs. I sold my soul to Indian summer and entered into new adulteries. The year was fair, and in the autumn air, I tasted fresh forgiveness everywhere. Yet even as I write these lines, I should mention I was writing this in mid-November up at school, sitting on a hillside in Vermont, looking out over the fields. And it was getting late in the day, and I could begin to feel the cold air coming up. So the air was fair, and in the autumn, the year was fair, and in the autumn air, I tasted fresh forgiveness everywhere. Yet even as I write these lines, my back grows cold upon this hill. The winds that wash across our lives will play with us as seasons will. It is the sighing of the year that lets our dreams and apples spill. The wind prepares, the winter dares. Now comes the thickening chill. Fast forward 60 years. This next poem, kind of also introducing this play, was written on a slope, one of my favorite slopes overlooking Somme Sound. And where I like to kind of prowl around and climb. Blow me down. Thank you, sir. So I was written on one occasion, I was walking around up there, and the slopes were kind of, it's very slippery with leaves. And I noticed I was taking more care than I used to do. I was like making sure I was going to be okay. And then I sat down and was contemplating for a while, and these two poems came up. Today, I am less steady on this craggy slope, the tilt of rock, the slippery pine needles and leaves. My muscles tentative with fading strength. I take a care I never took. Late sunlight sparkles like gold and jewels on the evening water. Tall cedars rise by the dry stream bed. The faint breeze could be my own breath, a teasing whisper of my body's passion. Old bones, quiet heart. I will stick this note deep in a crack of the rock, in a crevice of time, for future journeyers to discover that an old man passed this way. Part two. As I sit there, I'm still busier somehow than I intended. The old old habit of confusing my destiny with outer things. So, old man, do you still wish to make a mark in this world? Then look below. You will see where your backside has left a mark in the wet leaves. So, hold on one second. Okay. Again, we of course, we develop so many ideas about our life, evaluations of it, how are we doing, how does it look, how did it look, what's done and what's not undone, what's my agenda, what's been, yeah, and we're so self-involved with our picture of life, and we often lose track of the fact that, you know, it's like life is not really our own property. We have a creative involvement in our lives, but there's really something bigger that's living us. We make it about our story, and then we're kind of limited to how much is my story succeeding or not succeeding. And when I broadened my picture, I realized, oh, life has its own agenda in a way. It's using me as part of a bigger picture. It's taking something from me. It has its own plans, and it's not just my idea if I've succeeded or not succeeded. In a more indigenous, some more indigenous cultures, there's really the sense of we live our lives to become good compost for the greater life and for the generations to come. It's not just about how am I doing, right? It's what am I leaving behind in terms of the honorability of my being present here. And therefore, as one of my teachers says, becoming an ancestor worthy of descending from. So this poem is called Honeycomb. And it actually came up at the time I was sitting there one morning to have a practice of writing in the morning. And I had an idea of something I wanted to write about, but it didn't come. So instead, I just started writing this, and this is what came. It is not so important to write the poem you thought you wanted to write. It is not even so important to live the life you thought you wanted to live. It is only necessary to be sucked into that great honeycomb of poetry and life beyond prediction that digests your bones and sticks in your throat until after the flailing and the gagging, its fire and its sweetness may press from you something that is not your own.
May I say something about that poem? I love that one so much. I have it taped on my refrigerator.
Oh, taped on her refrigerator.
To remind me, you know,
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So the thing it presses from us, well, we know, if we look at our own lives, and what is life pressed from me that maybe I've taken for granted because it didn't accord with my particular agenda at the time. Wow, including, of course, our children, our progeny, and many other things that we've left behind as we go. In our culture, it's also hard, you know, because of all cultures, probably in the history of the world, we're the least supportive or honoring of the older generations, which typically were the generation to be honored and were really the backbone of the culture. I mean, each stage of life had a very important part to play, but there was a real honoring of the seniors as carrying what was essential to the culture, and of also then being able to pass it down and become a model for the younger ones. But you know, as we've all done a lot of things in our life. We've probably accomplished a lot of things. We've done some amazing things when we were younger. We explored a lot of places. We had probably very interesting life stories here and there. As we get older, you know, but then the younger generation can't possibly, including our own kids, you know, they can have a relationship with us and maybe better or worse, but they can't possibly know what our own experience of life has been. or even really where it leaves us from the inside. So the old man, this is called the old man, it's like we can pass by and say, oh, there's the old man. Nice, not nice, but can I really understand who he is, what he comes from? So this says the old man will always be the old man. His victories, seemingly of another age, will always be invisible and insubstantial. Life uses us for planting seeds that will blossom in another time and place that can know only themselves. If we are kind, we may say to the old man standing in the kitchen, the one on his knees in the compost, in the garden, I love you. And if we are praiseful, we may say, you are a great tree come walking with your branches tipped with silver, your bark mottled like the moon. But we will never know the sacred deer that follow him from just behind that row of trees, or the space he has made to open like starlight beneath his footsteps, or that strange convocation as of a fractured and ancient choir ready to receive him backwards along the dark wings of his flight. This poem is called Another Note to My Children, which suggests there was an earlier poem called A Note to My Children, which there was. And again, so now just moving a little bit into this field of relations, our relationship to our, people around us, our children, earlier experiences that we, peak experiences that we lose and leave, many of them being of our children. But this is another note to my children that says, you will not come through clean. You will not proceed according to plan. And your success may be disguised as a failure of the success you wished. Remember, the mind sees things inside out, and the heart is closer to home than this world of mirrors suggests. The heart is closer to home than this world of mirrors suggests. For the most part, you will not know how to do much of it. Though moment to moment you make your best choice, and moment to moment you are being chosen. But the pieces will not always fit, and the brokenness of the world will run like a fault line through your heart. The pieces will not always fit, and the brokenness of the world will run like a fault line through your heart. That is where the heartache, that is where your heartache will consume you in the fire of praise. That is where your ignorance will shine through with the light of your secret path. That is when you will begin to become an offering at the world's true table. When the helpless grief of your humanity, long basting in the juices of affirmation and kindness, will now become the roast that we hungry ones have been awaiting from each other. When you have become the pressing that fills the ancestral glass. And when we cast our softened eyes around the banquet hall and are rejoiced to find that even our children are here. Okay, the one I wanted to read next is not here. Let's see if I stuck it somewhere else, and you have to see if I remember it. Very strange. Okay. I think I'll just skip them rather than mangle them. But I'll just say, it's introducing this, it's really, they're both playing on this dance between grief and praise. To understand that to live our full life, we have to allow and fully experience our grief, but not to let that distort the vital energy of our lives and our capacity to praise life. You see? And that even our most, in some way, even our most difficult experiences, as I say in the one poem, even the boxer staggering to fallen knees, says, "This is the beauty I came here to find." Okay. Maybe it'll pop up later on, I'll read the two. And the first poem talks about going down a mountainside in November, friend, and then noticing the sun was starting to set. And we started trying to go back up the hill fast enough to see the sun longer. Which reminds me, there's another poem here that's missing. Fortunately, it's here it is, okay. In fact, they're all here. Okay, I just switched them over. Okay. So I'll go back and I'll read these three. First, I'll go back and read the poem I meant to read, number 2 today. It's called The Crossover Point. The crossover point is the point when suddenly kind of this innocence, unknowing of our lives, which is just the idea of life being infinite, and there's no sense of there being some kind of far side to it. No awareness when we're younger, mortality is just a silly idea, as a saving for retirement, that kind of thing. But there's a certain point in our life where suddenly there's a switch over, where suddenly, you begin to be aware of it. I call this the crossover point, and I talk about it in this poem. It says, "From the moment of our birth, we send out a sonar signal towards our death. For years, the signal seems to fall into an infinite void until one day, late into our life, the faintest echo appears. First, as an undifferentiated pattern across the screen, still consciously deniable, while all our instrumentation subtly shifts. And one day, there appears, like the brain's sudden resolution of an abstract print, the looming image of the far canyon wall. One day, there suddenly appears the looming image of the far canyon wall, and we understand that even here, in the dark expanse of an unknown sea, we are in an inescapable geography. It is the crossover point, where every careless moment occurs at last within the reflection of finite space. When that which could never be real to our body now seals itself as the contour of our death in all our moves. And we are backed briefly into the permissible conceit that manual control can turn the ship around. Until the wisdom waiting in our bones prevails and rescues us from tailspin. And the echo now becomes no longer the piercing staccato of a mortality, but the music for a different kind of dance, like autumn leaves spinning and lifting in the wind. Now, I'm going to say that again, that ping that's coming back at us, that sonar reflection, becomes no longer the piercing staccato of our mortality, but the music for a different kind of dance, like autumn leaves spinning and lifting in the wind. Now, it is not the romance of the terrain, but the texture of sound itself that calls us home. Not the endless positioning of our craft, but the release of all positions. Not the maps, the mission papers, the ship's log, but the long-awaited return of our oldest song, sent out into the invisible atmosphere that shrouds and holds a lifetime's pride and busyness, unfolding us in the end, not as the flower of what we tried to be, but as the flowering of that one true note that rang us in. That was meant to set the stage for all that comes after. And then I realized this poem, November, that I just referred to, some of the same mechanism is there, this turning around saying, let's go back up the hill and see the sun longer. It was like manual control can turn the ship around. Rather than, okay, let's just stay and watch the sunset, right? The sun is orange, but the mountains are powdery pink. We wander downhill among the cedar groves in the approaching dusk. The sun slips below the hills, sinking faster than we can climb. So we agree to stand and watch the hidden glow blow northward, powdering the hills again like an orange sandstorm. The stray call of a November bird accents the simple cold. What's done is done. All poetry is grief. Then the next poem starts with the line, poetry is praise. Even in the darkest moment, even in our most negative refrain, the things we pause to write about are praised by the time we take to feel, to suffer, to grapple, or to exult. We are courting this moment of being, saying, it is not enough to love you, but I must write my love song now so all can hear, so that my tears may add to the final sum of beauty. So that my tears may add to the final sum of beauty. This is this conjunction of praise and grief. So that my ears may add to the final sum of beauty, so that the gods may hear me sing that I was alive this moment and you were too. Poetry is praise. And so the inarticulate finds its own articulate face in the mirror. Being must have its bard. To hear as a matter of song that it has been seen and felt and heard, from the warm welcome of the orange leaves to the cold abyss that we fear at the heart of life. Even the exile, bereft of every home, even the lovelorn, even the boxer staggering to fallen knees says, this is the beauty I came here to find. We're not alone. We're not alone, of course, together as people. We're not alone as a species. We're not alone in the universe. The experience is our particular way of experiencing what all life and all consciousness is in all things experiencing, and which people have experienced. We're also linked, of course, to all of history. These two poems both approach that. This one's called Red Solar Disk. Deer, cougar, chickadee, we've all been known to stare at the looming disk of the setting sun. All been known to pause for the royal mystery, savor the disturbing beauty, know instinctively of our secret frailty. A single recognition stirs us according to our kind. We are not alone. And this one also is a poem of communing across the centuries. This was a poem written to a Chinese poet, Chiao Tao, famous favorite Chinese poet of mine, who lived from 779 to 843. So this is called To the Poet, Chiao Tao. The one gives rise to vibration, to elemental particles, to atoms, and the birth of night. Unfolding distant dreams. That night is unfolding distant dreams of moon-cast shadows on the Yangtze Gorge. A long, slow, dark, and empty whirling where great oceans of imaginary dust congeal to galaxies of stars and light. And transient crusts of planetary places to plenitudes of primordial ooze and organization and life, and the wild proliferation of faces. And our laughter under the evening skies, where 1,200 years is not so far apart. And the sorrow that men know of come and go and birth and end, of haunting beauty and lingering loss, the intimacy with falling snow and passing friends, and an immensity within our bones that sings in the mountains as you still sing, and I sang then. Men sing, we sing, with the same original voice and slyness of eye and ironic, lonely, and triumphant heart, and with the common tenderness of being witness. This poem is dedicated to grandmothers. And of course, you know, again, in our indigenous cultures, we understand that the son is referred to as father, and it would be impolite to refer to the son in any other way as the son, no, it's father. But the moon is grandmother. And so this is a poem for grandmother. On the night after the winter moon is full, she is also most generous. She lingers luxuriously in the morning sky, magnanimous to our longings and to the rising sun. She holds gentle space for our transitions and gives time for her proud boy to spread his bright tent on the shore of a new day. And even then, she remains roundly watchful and unobtrusive, to see that all is in order before folding her apron and retiring to wherever grandmothers go on their day off. It's important, I think one of the best antidotes, yes, to aging or to really congealing into those places that really keep us dead prematurely because we're lost in our own, again, story and our relationship to the immediacy of this moment, to the newness, and to the relationship that's always going on around us. It's that relationship that keeps us new and fresh and alive, really. And if we think about all the ways in which our concerns or our preoccupations or our stresses deaden us to that, that is what's, deadening us in life. Whereas, if we're open to that all the time, we're always being birthed new into the moment. We're always young. This poem is called The Importance of Greeting. Say hi to the things you've done and the things you've left behind. Right? Somehow, also we carry the past as either a burden or or something we're still longing for or something we're regretting. But just say hi. I love you. Thank you for being my past, Say hi to the things you've done and the things you've left behind. Say hi to the things that greet you on your walk. Old friends, never forgotten or ignored. New friends, wanting to welcome you home, to tell you, here too, your belonging lies in your seeing. Don't think the red oak or the partridge berry beside the woodland path doesn't know of your coming, isn't mindful of your recognition, or that the eyes of others do not need you. Say hi if you want to belong here. Say hi to your past if you want it to be ever kind, and hi to the unknown earth where you next plant your foot. It will disclose itself to you. Happy to be unknown, happy to be greeted without presumption. My poem new in here. Okay, I'm gonna follow that up with a poem. I know where it is. Again, it's about the freshness and the new. Each morning, the description. Each morning must be something new, extracted out of the too common dream. Find something new to extract out of your too common dream. The wind chime, and even the ball of paper that missed the garbage yesterday, that missed the garbage can yesterday, must loom as portent and to goad the next second, being as ever fresh as the last. Must sculpt the brain anew, must sculpt the brain anew. The wind chime says, wake, wake. This paper ball is not the same paper ball I threw yesterday. Now that I see it, it is vast. So this other theme, the theme of new, the theme of also, as we are getting older and there are a lot of things perhaps we've left behind, there are certain routines that we're used to or we're capable or not, but every once in a while, a new surprise comes into your life somewhere, and it may be even a surprise of something that you did, that suddenly you found yourself doing something you would have thought of yourself doing only when you were much younger, and you just feel the joyfulness of a younger energy. Or some people may later in life may start painting or may start doing whatever, or taking up a certain hobby that really nourishes them and makes them young again. For myself, among other things, during the COVID years, I found myself not writing. It was very hard. Nothing was coming at all, except suddenly out of nowhere, I started rapping. I started writing rap poetry. And what I learned is that once you start rapping, it's really an addiction. It's like it takes over the brain. And you can't carry on a conversation without suddenly going into rap, because all these connections, the rhythms come. I said it's like being caught on a refrain gang. Anyway, this is one of my rap poems, and sometime I'll do something where I read more of them for fun. But this particular poem is called On Beginning to Rap at 74. And actually, I printed it out larger so I can see it more easily. And I hope that that's here. If not, I'll read on the smaller print. Okay. Yes, good. No. Okay. I'll read it. Come up, I need some. I'm beginning to rap at 74. It's not against the law. Or maybe it's praying, you know what I'm saying? Not winning, but wanting more. Try to even up the score. It ain't no lark, but jiving is thriving. No need to be uptight if you got the spark. And you ain't just barking in the dark or serving claptrap instead of rap. Or can close the gap between commotion and devotion to the entire ocean. I'm waking from the nap of my old notions, quaking with the rap of my hammer on the percussion cap of my next explosion, keeping it all in motion. It's a people's day arriving, world peace through rhyming. My knees are weak, but I still got the timing. My knees are weak, but I still got the timing. Less hip in my hop, but I'm not whining or stopping traffic because I must be discreet, because out on the street, there may be some derision of my demographic or suspicion of the arc of my late blooming position as a charismatic. What is he, a narc? Or at the least, I can hear them repeat with some snark in their remark, don't look back, but this old hat's just jumped his track. Or, hark, who let the seniors out of the park? And one other such occasion, I was walking along winter road in the park and tripped over a root that was covered with snow. This poem is called The Old Root. And this is how something can suddenly become a gift to us that we weren't expecting in strange ways. The old root, half under snow, tripped me up along the mud road. And I could feel the anticipation and delight of falling and hitting the earth and rolling, so that I threw myself into it, riding my cautious 60-year-old frame, as I did when young and loved to tumble, knowing that the old root gifted me what I would not have gifted, and spilled me to the mud, and waked the dance still in my bones, and added the final pleasure and completion to a perfect walk. But we need to also give some attention, right, to the griefs, to the losses, on all so many levels, and I want to read several poems, and then we'll get into the tough love poems. So these are, I'm just going to read several, and they're just all evocative, and they speak for themselves. This one is called A Mountain of Our Own. The black hawk swooped slow over the car. I remember cruising these mountains years ago, when our love could still place a mountain of its own against the skyline. I return to it now, like the end of a kite string we were asked to hold, and is still tied to some part of me. White clouds drift across the blue sky, forming shapes out of mist, appearance out of emptiness, having no history, yet looking like they looked 40 years before. Deep midwinter snow already tastes of spring. Yearly it's the same. The snow melt at the heart is always fresh. Still do I love thee as the fields flame red, and the day rushes like blood tide into the purpling haze, and the few stars rise, and the marsh bird fades, then calls, then fades. When most what we call dear blinks into nothing, and the shadows stretch back over the years, I will walk the black highway in the bucket of night, with the wind gently turning the treetops, taking me home. Two more. This was written to one of my best friends of many, many years, who died 2 years ago, to Martin, October 21st, 2023. And there's a reference in this poem also, again, the importance of feeling what we feel, the importance of again, in the Mayan tradition, at least, they say that when you die, you cross this river to the next life, but you need a canoe to cross the river. And the canoe is made of the tears of people who cried for you and people who remember you. And if you have nobody who's cried for you, you can't get that canoe. You end up like coming back as a ghost because you can't get across. So it's really important to remember and to cry for the people you've lost, because that's helping them. Last night, the meteors rained down from Orion, and you followed them home. Orion is the royal road to the heavens, say the Mayas, but they don't say anything about it stealing our friends. So tonight, I will go fishing with you by the great river, walk silently together in the woods, laugh heartily, enter the prayerful deep, do all that we never did, know what we'll always share. We can only cross that river, say the Maya again, on canoes made of tears. That is, only if we are cried for, only if we are remembered. And finally, only the cicadas. Staring into the fire, I saw your body consumed by the passing world. I saw your spirit, your voice, unplaceable as smoke. Only the cicadas, only the sweet earth could be your song. Only the brightness of the moist dark could be your home. What is this that has no hands or feet, no inside and no out, through which your bright memory comes walking, through which the passion of your song shoots like a star through space? And I make, okay, coming to the, all right, we're coming to the close to the end. I'm gonna just do a couple of my tough love poems and maybe we'll jump to something else. Okay. This, I made a note on the top of this page. It says, the comfort of no comfort. That's a pretty thin line. But this is true. It's like if we can embrace the whole range of our feelings, including uncomfortableness, as part of the treasure that we've been given, it transforms things. This first one is called Face It. The wind chime in the blustery winter air rings in my belly like the knell of truth. It says, what you have done in this life, face it. What you are still to do, do it. Just because God is love, don't expect childhood sympathy from this world of life and death. If you offer your attention, be complete. If you want to love, do it now. If you want to confess, someone will listen. When one is a beggar and a homeless one, rapidly approaching old age and death, it's easy to calculate the odds. It's called jackpot. The cap that had awaited its final feather has now been sold for a song. The other feathers, waiting for our nest, are blown in a November wind. No cap, no feathers, no nest. The house holds all the cards. The roadside offers only the jackpot of your nakedness. The air is for breathing. You placed your money down a long time ago. The dealer sits as straight-faced as he always has. You sit as sheer and naked as you came. The song of the road is the only song in town. The silence that surrounds you now is ancient. You can almost hear the mice in a corn crib far away. You can almost hear two fiddlers on the roof. You no longer think that winning is the game. You eye the deck he's been holding a million years. You barely blink. Hit me, you say. The great mountains are crumbling. Now, this is a poem that applies certainly to the world we're in right now. It can also apply on a personal level. The great mountains are crumbling. The mountains of the world that shadowed the necessary canyons of our lives and told us how to walk, how to believe, how to survive. Now in the collapsing ruin, all paths are rubble, except for those who pull their startled heads above the rock and walk creatively, aimless, and free. Now we're getting into prescriptions for the dilemma of these last years. Okay, this one, a very recent one, called The Way Between the Briars. And it brings in everything from nostalgia to tough love. And The Way Between the Briars. That sort of just slipped out and it's become one of my favorite poems. It's been back to us. The Way Between the Briars. Listen up. There was a fence with a briar, and then another fence. And we knew when we walked between them, along the only path we had, that we might not emerge side by side again. And there was a water that stretched to the sky, and that here and there wove between us, carrying petals and blown chaff and the lightness of sky, and calling us to hear and see, and to call to each other across something like time. This is the world, a voice said, and here petals fall. And in this short life, they may fall where they are born, or the waters may carry them far. And men will come to plant new flowers, or to dam and poison the waters, and to hurt each other. And you must learn to sing all their songs, but your songs must go to the waters and to the roots of growing things. And your songs must reach back to the first sky, and to the first fence, and to the first briar. And you will breathe a deep untangling, and you will behold your beloved, and the dead shall weep, then sing. Okay, maybe we have time for one or two more. If someday you will die anyway, what better than to see the sunrise every morning? There's no solution, only a reminder and a dip into the immense beauty that is running the show, far beyond us. No answer to death, just a shift of reference from narrow finitude to being itself. The cock's cry in the heart that says there's only starting anew. No handhold for regret, even as we plunge each moment into the promise of oblivion. At heart, there is only radiance. Sun says so. The setting sun is a fire in the heart. There is a power in the vulnerability of old age. There is a power in the vulnerability of old age. The relinquishment, there is a power in the relinquishment of importance. Now we are free to look straight into the closing doors of the world. Now we are free to look straight into the closing doors of the world, except I want to start over again. The setting sun is a fire in the heart. There is a power in the vulnerability of old age, the relinquishment of importance. Now we are free to look straight into the closing doors of the world, accept the definitive end of destiny as a sacred vessel bestowed in a sacred place. No need for the promise of that secret rendezvous we cannot imagine. We take with the trees one long suspended breath. And at the moment between the last rim of the orb and the sudden diffusion of liquid light, time holds all its meaning. Getting to my favorites, it's going to be hard choices here. And by the way, this is called The World Without Me. And it's not just about after I die, it's about now. The Aztec and the Maya understood that the earth floats on a lily pad, or floats on, on a lily pond. The earth floats on a lily pond. I know this is true, having enjoyed the earth briefly and the lily pond for a long, long time. On clear, late afternoons, the pond arises at the edge of sight. At night, it laps the edges of our sleep. Having bubbled forth as me in evanescent play, it glistens as a membrane of soapy light. I am as real as the blue fairy, or the jolly green giant, or the marshmallow man. I am as faithful as Adam in the midday sun, as restless as Eve in the evening. Neither extolled nor condemned, who am only an aurora in the morning mist, or heat refraction in the desert air. The wave that waves it all waves me. And now, misty field and desert sky, I give it back to you. I give back this curious idea of me, this one of your infinite greening and falling leaves, firefly in the September grass, warmth rising, confluence of winds, wild sea, perfect storm of separate identity, a momentary swell in a world without me. But to laugh, this moment, to startle, to clutch, to love, the million times a day, unmarked by us, we give ourselves away by natural generosity, outshining our obsolete and ritual identities. The me song, the you song, all these I give back to the spirit wind, to the whirling flame, to microbial dance, to your welcoming breath, to the only world, to the world without me. To West. It's called Northeast Creek. How many years are left? 15, 20? May I paddle this stream till then? Past the tall autumn grasses, the jubilation of purple asters, the brave afternoon of the setting sun. May I keep slow company with mallard ducks and lone marsh pines. The cranberries are scant this year. Take a rest, little sisters. We'll all rest soon as our little boat drifts through the turning seasons, the reddening maples, the shortening days, drifts home at last on its quiet and steady stream through the womb of inconceivable space on the open and shadowed marsh as the Andromeda galaxy rushes toward us. This is called On the Platform of the Real. This is the platform of the real, the veranda of the ancestors, our ancient way of going, our love knot with the earth. We are the empty sky of service, facing neither in nor out. We are the body of sacrifice, composting as it goes. We are the body of sacrifice, composting as it goes. The simple companionship, the simple walk. Why hesitate to take the other step? There are no secret hearts, no secret hurts. We know them all. We play the fools, but cover for each other. Still, there is a cycle to the dance, a spring's intent, an autumn's restlessness. However obvious the moon's bright face, its shadowed mystery grows never less. At last, each host becomes a guest. The tray of canopies, whatever may be left, is set down or handed on. And we excuse ourselves a moment. We excuse ourselves a moment and walk out the back door into naked night, an ear to earth's last whisper, and sail on to where the body burning without light opens its secret storehouse in the dark. At last, each host becomes a guest. The tray of canopies, whatever may be left, is set down or handed on. And we excuse ourselves a moment and walk out the back door into naked night, an ear to earth's last whisper, and sail on to where the body, burning without light, opens its secret storehouse in the dark. One little poem that says, called Autumn, each leaf has one flight and a final sound. I won't try to squeeze in more.